start. We had a couple of executive sessions to start things off. If you could all rise, if you were able to do our flag. Right there.
Sorry.
You're so conducted.
The United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Apologize for that.
Sorry about that.
All right, now that we got that, we have a full board here, all 5 councilors present, so I will make a motion to open the board of assessors.
Oh, second.
Motion in a second, any discussion? Hearing none, Sam? Aye. Paul? Aye. Joel? Mallory? I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0, so. Verna, coming? No? Just us for,
Super mill rates.
just discussion of the mill rate?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
I know some of you haven't seen this before, seen this process, so. Everyone, actually, some of the, audience has this too, everyone sent this form. So, what the pieces have already been put together to be able to put this mill rate together. We had gone to annual town meeting for the municipal budget. We have the county budget, we have the school budget. And we put all those together, evaluations that Verna has done from the permit pass from April 1st has been completed. She has updated all the valuations of people's homes, whether it's a new deck, new addition, or just valuations went up and down. So now that we have all the pieces, now we put together the mill rate. The mill rate is a variance of different numbers that we can do. We have a maximum and a minimum that we can do for the state. And in blue to the right on your form, it has the minimum and maximum tax rate allowed. And so we have a range of 1376 to 1445 to pick from. And the difference, the only difference in that point will be the overlay. The overlay is used for abatements. If people have any questions about their taxes or if there's an abatement, that's where that money comes from. And if it is not used, it is put into the undesignated fund at the end of the year. I want to keep in mind that we have used a lot of the undesignated fund in the past year. We have used about 2 million or up to 2 million with the owner's contingency fund for the town hall. So that's a big chunk of that extra money that we used to have in there. I did do the undesignated account at this moment before the audit. There is about 6.4 million in there. We are required to keep in 4.4 million with our policy that we have in place. So keeping that in mind, I have a recommended mill rate in pink of 1396. And in the right hand side of your form, we have the different colors, the blue, the gray, the pink. The pink is the one that I'm recommending. And this is the one that will show you in the bottom of each of these colors, will show you the average monthly increase due to the increase in all the different budgets on how it will affect the taxpayer. This is an estimate. This does not take into consideration any exemptions that anyone might have. This is just a generalization, give you an idea of how it's going to affect people. And as I said earlier, the mill rate isn't the starting point, it's the result. After the town has determined how much money is needed to provide these services and knows the total taxable value of all the property, it calculates the mill rate needed to raise that amount. The simple tax rate is per 1,000 of assessed value. On the right hand side, this is the calculation we use that's from the state. The valuation base is from Verna, and then we have our appropriations, the tax, school, our budget, and the TIF amount that we're doing there. Against that, we have the revenues that we get from the state for revenue sharing and the other revenue that we receive for all the other services that we do. Last year, the mill rate was $12.52. And I'm proposing $13.96. Questions?
Kind of,
Of course.
so kind of, So moving from the 1290 to 1253 to the 1396. Looking at this and general. Thumbs up for this, everything makes great sense. All of this is impacted by the general increase that we had in the taxes that the town passed this past year.
So it's a combination of our increased budget, because mostly the ambulance service coming in-house. The school's increased budget, the county's increased budget, all of those pieces come together. And then the valuation of our homes is the other piece. Because if we have more valuation, it gets spread out more evenly for what people have for their homes, land, additions. And whatnot.
Yeah, and that all those adjustments now reflect this, as you said, is all
Yes.
the general. Okay. And what, so. I think I have all my objections answered.
Jen, do you know, like, off the top of your head, how much did the county go up a decent amount this year for us?
If I remember off the top of my head, I believe it was about 501 last year, and it's 537, so it went up a decent amount. I think 4 or 5%.
Jen, so what, the overlay, is that sort of in line with what it's traditionally been year after, I you probably don't have that in front of you, like.
Yes, for the past 4 or 5 years, we have been running around 300,000 mark.
And then are we expending, we haven't historically expended all of that overlay.
No, we typically do not.
Yeah.
Um,
End up putting it back, but it lots of back again.
and that's how we are able to put about, $1 million back in to reduce the budget. So if we don't keep enough money in the undesignated fund to help offset the revenue of $1 million out of undesignated, then we'll see a dramatic increase in the mill rate if we're not able to contribute back to that.
Okay, I actually have a follow from that, my question over here, so. I can see you're kind of recommending the 13.96, which seems to be like in the middle.
Lower to middle, yeah.
So for example, if we went with. 13.92, that we have in here, 13.9. You're saying there's a chance that. We would be putting less in the undesignated fund. In FY 27. Which this past year we put $1 million from it towards the taxes.
That is correct. We took $1 million to reduce the tax burden, to be able to reduce this mill rate, and not have the taxpayer come up that $1 million.
Do we have the data, and you probably have somewhere, do we have the data to know? Is that where your 13.96 recognition comes from, because we've looked at the past like couple of years to see how much was left over?
As well as how much we've dipped into it in the past year. We've
Because we
reduced
have
it.
done a lot.
Like about 2 million, plus we have the Great Works Land Trust, we have that money, dedicated to that, should they continue to need the reimbursements up to the 200,000. So within the town hall is a big piece of it, keeping that out of the bond, and we self-funded some of that. And the other piece of it, like we helped the school this year so that they didn't have to go borrow money because the state doesn't pay them during the summer months. We helped them because we had the cash flow to do that. I would hate to ever put the town in a position where we have to borrow money in between September and March because we can't float all the bills in before the next half of the tax bills are due.
Oh, no, one.
So there's a lot of moving pieces, why we don't want that undesignated account to get too low. Because we wanna make sure that we're thinking out for next budget and the following budget and in between cash flow to get through the 2 6-month bills that are due.
The other side, Joe, we've looked at in the last 12 years I've been doing the budget. We try to stay in the middle because it saves us from yo-yoing. If we went to the lowest number this year, next year, if we stay on the same path we are right now with goods and services going up, we're gonna end up setting that mill rate higher, so we're gonna have a higher spike for everybody, so we try to stay linear in the middle, so we don't have those big spikes.
Oh, yeah,
And that's why the difference between that 1392 and 1396 is enough next year.
Right. No, that makes sense, I just wanted to kind of have the conversation. Out of rec, because I'm sure we also, I've already heard when we went through last budget season, oh, there's extra money, why not do a check, but you already listed. What we do with all this extra money, and it's very useful and for so. that
And
makes
God forbid, if a fire truck would go off the road and we ruin it, this is, the undesignated fund would be how we get ourselves out of that emergency.
Perfect.
And do you, So do we know what the current undesignated, I mean, I know we came to budget, year-end budget. You know what the current,
I mentioned that we're about 6.4 million now in the undesignated account, and our policy states that we need to have 4.4 million. About, yeah, approximately.
so we're okay right now with that.
As long as we don't keep borrowing from you like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
this is
Okay.
starting to make me a little bit nervous.
And for the budget, I know that this last year we did 1 million, the year, you know, how much?
The year before was 900, the year before I think was 8 or 7, we were supposed to be going down. And we keep going up,
Yep.
because if we constantly keep doing this, and we come to a point where the undesignated fund doesn't have enough money in it. We're gonna need to say, okay, $1 million, that's a huge, tax increase.
Yes.
All at once, and like John said, we try to keep it linear, not have these huge down and up spikes. We know why we had a spike this time, it was because the ambulance service in-house was approved. And that's where 98% of our increase came from this year.
And we're still expecting almost 750,000. I think how much of that was spent through the numbers that I get for the town?
I'm sorry, somebody.
How much of the 750,000 that we budgeted extra for the town hall?
We have 498,000 left as of. Yep, so we're doing very well undesignated. Owners, sorry.
You're just sitting out.
Yeah,
Is that a standard sort of practice to use? To go with an overlay that's over what you expect to use for the overlay purpose to then be able to put it into your undesignated? But
it is a way to build the undesignated, yes.
I think last report we got, it was about, we had used about 26,000 or so in the overlay for the last fiscal year.
Correct.
Fine.
They're not, yes.
About 30, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just. I'm hesitant to. Sort of take that, I know that's what has been happening, but take that approach of. Estimating the overlay with the intention of just putting it back in undesignated at the end of the year versus using historical data of abatements granted to evaluate how much what the mill rate should be based on that, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and that's something that we could consider, but we'll also have to stop contributing to the mill rate.
Yeah.
To the, to the revenue, and we'd have to really stick to that.
Do you, I mean, well, Vernon would probably know better, but or maybe not. I mean, one of the things I guess I'm wondering, because of the reval and all that, I mean, are you expecting more abatements and abatement requests or abatements themselves? I mean,
Typically, we have some every year, this past year that we've been through had the most because the reval happened,
okay,
but there's typically a handful or so. And in my 8 years that I've been here, this is the most we've taken out of undesignated in a short period of time. Which again is helping the taxpayers because we're not having to go to bonds for town hall.
Does the 6.4 that you referenced include the return to the undesignated after fully closing out fiscal year 26?
Yes, the way it stands right now, unaudited,
Okay.
and I'm still making changes.
Are we needing to take action on the mill rate this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a must.
Yep.
Tomorrow, the tax bills will be going, we looked through they'll be downloaded, sent to the printer. And then it'll have to be approved, and we'd like to get the tax bills out before the end of August, so people have at least a month's notice before their bills are due.
Do I give one more, an opinion on?
You can keep, Jason,
So-
keep going till you're done.
My opinion, based on just the large increase in the municipal budget this year that has contributed in part to this increased mill rate. I would like to see us select an overlay that is more closely aligned, understanding the interim manager's point about the undesignated fund, that's more closely aligned with the required need based on past years. So, for example, last year's was, the overlay selected was 326,000 and change. This recommended this year's 300,000. And to date, or last year's abatements granted was closer to 30,000. And my opinion, again, would be that we select a mill rate that's more closely aligned with that 30,000, not 30,000, but closer to that than 300.
So where do you want 13.98?
Well, the minimum is 13.76, and I think that's what 5% overlay is the min, oh no, that's the maximum.
And the maximum is 1,062,000, so we're definitely on the lower end at 301.
Minimum with a mill rate of 13.76, the overlay would be $17,433
Approximately,
approximately.
because all these numbers will change when the tip changes, the mill rate changes,
Okay,
so all of them will change.
so I guess I would, my unofficial proposal would be an overlay of $100,000 and whatever that mill rate align, like whatever mill rate aligns with that 100,000.
That's what I was gonna suggest 100,000 based on what you said. I think it's a good point that we should consider the past data. I just wanna. Is that idea very uncomfortable to reduce the overlay? I mean, because again, we're kind of making this assumption that. Yes, historical data has said overlays, we've only spent a certain amount on overlay, but there's always this, you don't know what's coming kind of thing. Does that make you uncomfortable, Jen, at all to?
A little bit, yeah.
So what would that do to the tax rate? I'm sorry, did we do that calculation?
No.
Okay, if we did 100K.
Yeah, how much would that impact a monthly? Are you gonna say how much would impact a monthly, not a weekly month?
Probably about $5 less than that.
Yeah,
So for $5 a month, you risk putting us undesignated lower than it should be. And you risk a huge spike next year when we have to make it back up for $5 a month. That's the problem when we get to these numbers. You have to make a substantial cut in order to make.
If we cover that $1 million that we put in, I mean, that's 3 departments.
Right. But in order to drop 1%, in order to drop 1% on the mill rate, it's $1 million.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, really, I mean, it would be between the 13.9, 13.
yeah,
It would
so
probably be like 13.85, you know? Just guess.
I'm not comfortable straying away from where I've been since I've been here, which is taking the people I pay to do this. Opinion on how it should be. And I've always followed our financial director and I haven't been led astray yet, so I'm gonna stand firm on 13.96 just because again, I think could look the public in the eye and say for $5 a month, this guarantees that. We're not gonna be short in undesignated coming up and we're gonna have the money to cover some, but that's again. One person view.
And I mean, I think that's a fair point for that. The only thing that pops in my head, and I think we had this conversation going over the budget. Is it a sustainable process every year to have to rely on the undesignated fund? To help with the tax burden. On our constituents and not have it somehow factored in. If we rely on it every year, eventually we're gonna run out of it.
I would agree, 100%. I don't, the $1 million doesn't give me a warm fuzzy feeling.
Yeah.
I would really wanna see that jump down, at least 100, if not $200,000 every year until we're not doing it. That would be my goal. And then I would feel much more comfortable reducing it down to a much lower number. Because we're not counting on that to not do a big spike on the mill rate for the following year.
I think that there's no how many years we've had to dip into it excessively.
It has not been excessive. This is the biggest pull I've seen, but we also knew that this was coming down the road too. And we had the money to be able to help offset the bond. So,
I mean, I agree with John. I mean, I think the marginal benefit of doing the reduction is probably not worth the stress that it costs. I do think that this gives us a roadmap for next year as we start budgeting. It's not sustainable. And I think the increase in this year's budget probably is not sustainable. But that's a question for later.
sure,
Yeah, wait.
gonna start up in a couple months.
So what you guys are talking about is 13.6.
Yeah, that's where I'm comfortable, Sam, but again, that's why there's five of us. So you're looking, again, we need to make a motion, right, to set the mill rate, I'll make a motion to set the mill rate for the fiscal year 27 at 13.96. With an overlay of $301,046.
Okay.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Doing that, Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
I,
Joel? Aye. As well as I also, motion passes 5-0. Jump down to the assessor's return.
This is an annual return that we sign every year. This allows us to be able to pay the county tax bill of $537,000 for the 90 weeks. Okay.
I will move to approve the assessor's return as completed by the York County Commissioners in the amount of $537,798.03. We have a motion in a second. Any other question? You need a date in that?
Sure.
To be paid by the first day of September 2026. Motion in a second. Any questions on the county tax bill?
I guess, what, you know what our increase in valuation was this year? Total.
I don't know what the percentage was offhand, but it was around $11 million. 12 million. I can give you that exact number if you need.
Any other questions, Ken? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
And Paul?
I,
Joel? Aye. Mallory? Vote aye also, that motion passes 5-0. That concludes the business for the Board of Assessors. We will adjourn from that. We will roll into the regular scheduled town council meeting. First up is public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda this evening? No.
Go ahead.
Please step forward, state your name and address. Sure.
Mr. Chair, Brad Christo, 195 Old Fields Road. I wish I didn't have to do this. I'm hoping that, you will publish my letter that was submitted on, July 31st into the next packet in August 25th. This is gonna be brief, because you have that letter, and so since we won't see it in 2 weeks, I thought I'd make this comment. I want to thank the town for not publishing my letter submitted on July 31st into today's packet. The town proved points in my letter are correct. One set of rules exists for publishing the public's letters, but these same rules do not apply at all when the town decides to publish and insert letters important to them into packets. So there are rules for us, and no rules when convenient for the town. It seems rules and ethics are selective. This is profoundly disturbing behavior and the worst way to run a town government. I'm sorry I had it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben?
Is there any way, hi, I'm Shanna, correct?
Address, please.
So I've lived here, well, this is my hometown that I grew up in. So right now I'm actually trying to find more of a permanent address. Because I was told I need a permanent address. I went to the town hall and they said to come to this meeting so that I could find a permanent address. Now, when you come up with these permanent addresses, now, can you just, make up a street name and you create a street on your own? Do you go about that way, or do you have to, actually search for a house? And then that's how that, or, a piece of land. That's a whole other problem that, but then I also actually wanted to solve the problem that I think that you guys are having, with, it sounds like there's not enough have you guys ever thought about, maybe having like more festivals or more things downtown that raise money? And bring people in, that could actually help, so that maybe we could do no taxes or just less of that. I mean, it brings,
We need more businesses. Sustainable, we need more businesses in the town in order to lower our tax rate. That's really what we need. We need year-round businesses to bring people in and to pay taxes. We have a bunch of different stuff between Pumpkin Town and February Festival, and they are all good, but this town needs businesses. We're residential, and that's what's really hurting us right now. We need some business.
but even if you had a couple more of, like Pumpkin Town and or Festival, like to bring, more people from, other towns into us. Because I think, well, at least since I was a little girl, I mean, we've all pretty much we have a lot of businesses downtown, and I know that there's a big turnaround and it's in and out. And I mean, I've witnessed a lot of businesses come and go over the years. And I do think they do help this town, but I think a lot of some of our money that we get is from the celebrations that we hold in this town, like the different events. I mean, this town is beautiful, and there's no reason why we couldn't like make extra money to pay for things that we need just on events alone.
All right. Thank you.
That's just an idea.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Anybody online? I don't see any hands up. All right, we will move on to Jen. You're up, the town manager's report.
Okay. The highway department is prepping for a culvert lining to be done on Old Fields Road that will be starting on Monday, August 17th. There'll be a section of the road that will be closed for about a week and a half. The yellow center lines have started to be painted, and they will continue until it's done as weather permits. And the highway department got their new skid steer on last Friday delivered, and they're happy about that, so thank you, town council. Police department, there were no arrests, 6 accidents, 157 traffic stops, and the police department has been without hot water for the past few days, and that will be repaired this week. Erin, our behavioral health liaison, had contact with 101 citizens in the past 2 weeks, and we are very lucky to have her. The fire department had 41 calls in the last 2 weeks, with 5 of those calls overlapping or multiple calls at the same time, which brings us to 342 calls year to date. National Night Out was a big success and was very well attended here in Shoetown Park. Code enforcement, there were 3 building permits, 13 other permits, 4 certificates of occupancy, with 19 inspections. Planning and economic development, Jeff attended the Eastern Trail Close the Gap project ribbon cutting in South Portland. He spoke with representatives about continuing the momentum and implementation of the Eastern Trail here in South Berwick. Landing trail ordinance amendments approved by the town council on July 14th were sent to the Department of Environmental Protection and for the state to review. Planning board approved a student housing project at Berwick Academy and also approved a shoreline zoning permit amendment for the hydroelectric project to be added a concrete pad to the powerhouse driveway to protect the penstocks. Transfer station, things are running smoothly. There's been a lot of inquiries about the hazmat day, and that will be held on Saturday, September 19th. More information to come about that. The library in the last 2 weeks has had 1,351 visitors. They hosted 18 public programs, which was attended by 129 people. The summer reading program wraps up this week. They had over 300 people signed up and hit the goal of reading of 5,000 days this summer. The Friends of the Library will be donating $500 to the South Berwick Community Food Pantry to recognize the achievement. The e-bikes have been very popular over the past few weeks at the library. They've checked them out 8 times and have more reservations throughout the month of August. and into early September, and you need your library card to get those. As well as library had a donation of 3 guitars to be added to their library of things. So they have an acoustical guitar, electric guitar, and a bass guitar that you can rent from the library as well. The Recreation Department has wrapped up summer camp and Kids Creative Studio last week. The kids cooking class, their last class was held today, and that new program was also a big success. The Recreation Department is working in collaboration with Rescue. They are doing their first American Heart Association Heart Saver First Aid CPR AED program, and that will be held here at the community center next Monday night. It will be a 4-hour class from 5 to 9, and it costs $100. There is a flyer out back if anybody's interested. Tomorrow evening is the last Hot Summer Nights concert here in Shoetown Park, and then it starts at 6 o'clock. Assessing, the file numbers have come, for the permit pass, and they're working on year-end cleanup and annual reporting to the state. They are also doing preliminary research for partial remapping that will occur after the data model conversion with CAI, which has already been begun. Lots of the tax maps will have larger fonts, easier to read map and lot numbers, and everything will be oriented north for easy reading for the maps. In the clerk's office, they had 316 motor vehicle transactions in the last 2 weeks, 21 notarial acts. The office is working together to meet the August 13th deadline for the June election for voter participation history for the state. Absentee ballots are available in the clerk's office and through the state's online system, and they will be mailed out as soon as we receive them from the state. Nomination papers are available for the November 3rd election. There are 2 seats for the town council and 1 seat for the school board. Finance and HR. We continue to work on year-end cleanup and get ready for the audit in September. The mill rate was set today. I worked on that and got all that information ready for the council to review. Tax club booklets will be made up and mailed out, and you can still apply for the tax club through August 30th. And you can find that form on our website, and I also did bring information on that on the back table as well. Jeffrey Baker and I have been working together on the TIF budget, and that will be presented to the council on the next agenda on 8/25. I met yesterday with the fire union representative from the state, along with staff and fire chief. We have scheduled several meetings in September to finalize the union contract for the EMS staff, and we hope to bring that to the council for the first meeting in October. We are still working with our attorney to finalize the language for the $50,000 credit from Oak Point Associates on the town hall project. And I'm going to be taking the rest of the week off after this meeting, but I will still plan on meeting with the renovation town meeting on Thursday morning with charters, Oak Point and town.
Questions for Jen? All right, thank you, Jen. Moving on from there, we will jump down to the following minutes. First one's up, the town council planning board joint workshop from July 21st, 2026.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the town council workshop minutes from July 21st, 2026 as written.
I'll second it. Any discussion on those minutes? All right, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 0. Second up is the town council meeting minutes from July 8th, 2026.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the town council meeting minutes from July 28th, 2026 as written.
Second, any question or comments, discussions on those? Hearing none, Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. Drop it down, we have 2 treasurer's warrants tonight.
This will be the last one of fiscal 26.
Fantastic. I'll make a motion to sign the first treasurer's warrant dated 8/6/2026 in the amount of $32,897.24.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this one?
this is another one we close out 26.
That's correct, yes.
Hearing none, Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also, Matt. Motion passes 5-0. State tonight.
I'll make a motion to sign the treasurer's warrant, also dated August 6th, 2026 in the amount of $1,139,000, $1,139,122.07.
I'll second that. Motion and, or do we have a motion and a second discussion? I will just bring up, this does include a $904,311.92 school payment, which is why it's over $1 million. Any discussion on this one?
I just had a couple comments, or a couple questions about the two line items for Seacoast Building Remodeling and Stafford Appliance Company, noted to be a part of the fire station modifications. And just reiterating my concerns for my July 14th letter related to the splitting of capital improvement project into multiple transactions. And that there has not been a formal bidding process for otherwise for that entire improvement project as a whole.
Understood.
The chief is gonna come to a presentation that's meeting.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
No,
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 4-1. Moving down to reports and presentations, we have the final active transportation plan. Bill, you're up.
Okay, good to see everyone again. It's kind of deja vu. I was just here a few months ago, as you know. The presentation is changed a bit, but roughly the same. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. You certainly had a lot of stuff on your agenda so far. You probably have a lot more things later. So it's about maybe a 15-minute presentation. And I would encourage you to jump in and interrupt me with any questions or comments as we go through. That's like completely fine. So just introduce myself. I'm Phil Goff. I'm a senior transportation planner at BHP. We're a planning and engineering company with offices in South Portland and Watertown, Mass. Where I'm based. And I have been working on this project for about a year now, and I've done, many other town-wide, region-wide trail and active transportation plans. And this one was just a terrific one to be working on. I appreciate the opportunity. And here we are, basically at the end. Why don't we go, Mummy, to the next? I wanted to recognize people who have helped BHP and others a lot throughout this process. It's hard to do these plans without a local steering committee or advisory committee to provide the sort of input and insights and review of draft materials and help out promoting public meetings and other events. So you can see the names here. A few of you, of course, are in the room. Jeff Brubaker and Mallory and Sam and Paul, very much involved. I don't think I missed anyone. But we appreciate the work from the town staff primarily. Oh, and Dean, sorry, Dean Williams from SNPDC is here as well. So thank you for the help that the committee provided, and it's really helped bring forward what I think is a strong plan, and I do hope you will appreciate it and adopt it tonight. The next slide. So the presentation includes quick overview of the planning process. Some of that you've already heard. Actually, most of these you've already heard. Project recommendations. There were a few tweaks based on some comments from town council and from community members who came to the meeting. I'll go over quickly again the conceptual design and demonstration projects, and then with the conclusion, I'll conclude with just some ideas for next steps in the implementation process next. Again, overview of the outreach and engagement, that steering committee that I acknowledged earlier. We met bi-monthly. I think there was 5 or 6 meetings total. Very helpful. Again, we had our Harvest Festival that we attended with a pop-up event with maps and dot exercise boards for people to provide their input. At public meetings last November and of course here in June. was considered a public meeting, and project website and materials that were provided throughout the process, including an online survey were provided on the website. Next slide. Our process included existing conditions assessment. I won't go through all this, but just to reiterate that an important part of this process, as well as, you know, any townwide, citywide plan of this type, is to not start from scratch and reinvent the wheel, but to review and summarize existing town and regional plans, policies and studies, and incorporate some of the recommendations that have already been made over the years related to walking and biking within South Berwick, and to incorporate those into our plans. Next slide. Okay, next slide, we'll get into the brief overview of the project recommendations. In total, in the report, we had 64 recommendations. You can see how things are split up with 18 shared use path or trail projects, one particular bike lane projects, which I'll get into in a little more detail later, as we highlight that as one of our conceptual design projects. There's traffic calming along 11 streets and in more of the downtown area neighborhood streets, 7 rural roadways, intersection improvements at 3 particular places, and then new sidewalks and improved crosswalks in 11 and 13 locations throughout the town as well. Next slide. With those 64 projects, prioritization, of course, is a very important part of these plans. We developed with the steering committee's help 7 project goals. Those goals kind of evolved into criteria with which we use to evaluate all the 64 of those projects and to score them. There was scoring based on weighting and the kind of relative importance that the committee and folks who came to public meetings that provided that input. So some of the criteria, when some of the projects, when scored through this criteria process, were weighted by 1, some by 2, and some had sort of triple the point totals, just to reflect the level of importance of the various criteria that we established as a group. Next slide. So just, you know, quick snapshot of the project prioritization table that was developed for the project, and the top 20 projects are circled in purple. You can see certainly a good number of them, as probably was not unsurprising from really early on, that many of those projects, you could actually stay right there, yeah. A good number of the 20 highest scoring projects, of course, were in the downtown area and some of the surrounding neighborhoods immediately adjacent. There were a few outside of the core town as well. And I think the important thing to reiterate to the town council and anyone here and the general public at large who might be watching this online is that this isn't to say that these projects should be implemented in this order from 1 to ultimately 64. These top 20 will be the first 20 implemented. Ultimately, one would hope that in the longer term, all those projects will be implemented, and some of those projects, they may not have scored in the top 20 or top 10 or wherever, but some of them may in fact in the near future, midterm future, be part of other projects. So they could be incorporated into a repaving, resurfacing kind of project, and intersection repair project, etc. So some that did score perhaps in the middle or lower down could theoretically be implemented soon. So I think that's just an important distinction to make with the scoring. This isn't an absolutely set in concrete. This is how you prioritize and implement all projects in this order. Next slide. I wanted to highlight a couple of the higher level recommendations, and certainly it came up the Eastern Trail, the off-road segment of the Eastern Trail. As town manager mentioned before, there was a ribbon cutting of the Eastern Trail segment in Scarborough. The Eastern Trail, the off-road portion keeps growing. There is an on-road signed portion in South Berwick, of course, which is nice, and I think some more experienced bicyclists are using it, but ultimately to look at the trio of projects which we identified that constitute the off-road portion of the Eastern Trail. In South Berwick. Some of these scored higher than others, but I think as a trio, should definitely be seriously considered, and I think South Berwick in coordination with SMPDC and the Eastern Trail Management District and Maine DOT looking at implementing this, working in coordination, of course, with Unitil and Central Maine Power, because so much of the alignment in South Berwick is along the utility line. So just wanted to make sure that was highlighted, would be like an incredible benefit. I think everyone would probably see that for the town. So that was clearly a key part of our planning effort and our recommendations. I also wanted to highlight, next slide, please. Wanted to highlight other kind of high level recommendations and kind of as a category, one of the categories were traffic calming. As mentioned before, traffic calming, some closer in, more urban residential streets in and around the downtown area, others in rural areas. So in the downtown area, as you can see, the highlighted streets like Norton and Lower Main, Young Street, Neely, Parent Street, Sewell Street, Academy Street, Butler Street, those are roadways where speeding and cut through traffic can certainly be a problem and an issue at times. And our recommendations for each of these streets, and certainly as a aggregated together, can really help create a much more pedestrian and bike friendly ways to get in and around the downtown area and not always necessarily rely on Main Street, especially for bicyclists, many of whom may not feel so comfortable there. So the kind of recommendations such as median islands and bump outs and flashing beacons at crosswalk locations could really help improve the pedestrian and bicycling experience on, I think it was the 9 total streets in the more urbanized streets, which traffic calming was recommended. Next slide, and then I think there were 7 roadways. Oh, sorry. Just some additional, another image, one to show. This was one that a couple of the projects we talk about alternating on-street parking from one side to the other, and how that can be a traffic calming device by slowing cars down by having, it's called a horizontal deflection. Sort of making that disruption in the flow of traffic facilitated. Next slide. And then on the rural roadways, there were, I think, up to 7, they're not all listed here, but Bennett Lot Road, Emery's Bridge, Nice Pond, Witch Trot Road, Oldfield. These are rural roadways where speeding, of course, can be an issue, making it challenging for bicyclists who may be using the roadway and the occasional pedestrian. These are roadways that, for the most part, with probably a few small exceptions, don't have sidewalks. So the report certainly includes and highlights some of the potential traffic calming measures, some of which overlap with the more downtown area neighborhood streets, but incorporating some of those on the rural roadways as well, such as just, repainting the shoulders and center lines. I know it sounds like in the town manager's report that's already in process. At least one of the roadways mentioned, chicanes, which is again that sort of shifting of travel lanes. Median islands, as you can see in that image from Biddeford, rumble strips for bicycling, shoulder widening if possible, and then signage is always, it is never a bad thing to have signage, it doesn't solve all your problems. And people, especially speed signs, we all know people don't necessarily stay at the speed limit, but having speed feedback signs that indicate that bicycles are allowed to share a lane, to use the full roadway lane are things that can really help improve accessibility and safety. Next slide. Next slide. So getting into the concept level projects, and these were presented last time. I'll go through them again very quickly. And again, if you had any additional questions, there weren't really any notable changes to these since I presented last time, but just as a reminder, we had 3 concept level design projects. And then we had 3 demonstration projects, short term. implementation on roadways. So the design level, concept level design projects. The one that certainly received a lot of interest from the steering committee and from a few folks who attended some of the events. Were improvements for bicycling and walking improvements on Portland Street. So in this concept design, we looked at an opportunity to keep parking only on one side of the roadway and put in bike lanes with painted buffers on each side to improve bicycling access roughly from Agamenicus roadway up to the approach to Main Street. And then plugging it in with Maine DOT's project, including the new intersection design at their intersection of Main and Portland Street. Next slide. Our report in the appendix, in particular, does have the graphics at this level, this concept level design. Just to give the town and SMPDC and others kind of an idea of what the design would look like. It includes in our concept plans, it includes striping for the bike lanes. It shows where bump outs, which are in the pink. The bump out locations would be both new and existing crosswalk locations, as well as some recommendations related to signage and some other things. So going from south to north, this is the Colcord Street intersection, and Main Street is just off on the left. Next slide, and we present the same graphic for the whole corridor at the intersection of Highland Ave, for instance. It's a little hard to see here, but this is the segment where on the upper right there would be parking is shown on the northwest side of the street. At upper right, and then in the lower left, parking is shown on the opposite side. So it kind of gives you a sense of where that horizontal deflection. In a plan view like this, it looks very gradual, like who would really slow down, but when you're actually in a car and you actually see lanes that are shifting like that, it can actually make a difference and slow people down a handful of miles an hour. Next slide, and then our graphics come up to the endpoint of Agamenicus Road and aggregating then with some other recommendations in the report, such as a new crosswalk at Jewett Ave and a new sidewalk connecting to Agamenicus roadway as well. These would be projects to be done, obviously in coordination with each other. Next slide. The second quickly concept level design project was looking at Lower Main Street. Right now, just a 2-lane road with parking on each side. Not space really for bike facilities, but the real emphasis here was slowing traffic and improving pedestrian safety, and especially when crossing Lower Main Street. So we have new crosswalk locations with bump outs and median islands that are shown in the red color at a couple locations. Again, moving from west to east, so there's at Spillane Cyril and High Street, you see the two crosswalks with traffic calming elements. Next slide. And then as we move further to the east, new improvements at Tibbet Street, Webster Street. At Webster Street, we're looking at, or this preliminary recommendation is for a raised crosswalk, which slows, designed to slow traffic to roughly 15 mile an hour speed through the corridor. Next slide, and then as Lower Main meets Main Street, we're showing the opportunity to close off the what's called a slip lane, the split in the 2 lanes. There is enough space with just a little bit of widening in the island in the center to allow for 2 ways of traffic just on one side, and then provide and create a small public space on the other side, maintaining, of course, all driveway access for any of the houses in that immediate area. Next slide. On the third, we looked at opportunities for traffic calming or doing something about not just the speed of traffic, but the cut through traffic that we certainly heard a lot of, that happens on Norton Street for vehicles on Portland Street approaching town, and looking to avoid the backup at the main and Portland Street intersection and heading over to Norton Street and going southbound on Norton and taking it right out Main Street. So we, looked at the possibility and just showing this concept plan that last walk between Concord and Main could potentially be a one-way access only. Of course, wouldn't be changing the pavement width. There'd be fire truck and emergency vehicle access in both directions, bike access in both directions, but would only really be a northbound motor vehicle way for just that one block in order to prevent people from doing that cut through. We also looked at opportunities here. Obviously, these are optional and in conjunction with fire department and elsewhere, looked at opportunities, next slide, to have potential speed humps. There are designs of speed humps as an option to slow traffic, but be designed in a way, speed cushions they're called, that emergency vehicles generally are able to pass with very, very minimal slowing, but for standard automobiles and even SUVs, there is that need to slow down to 15-20 mile an hour max. Next slide. And then kind of the final trio of projects, we looked at the demonstration projects, the short-term, low-cost, quick build kind of projects. The intent here is to test out the pedestrian and bicycle related infrastructure recommendations that are part of the plan. And to really look at them over a short period of time, could be 2 weeks, could be a couple month period, and evaluate how successful they might be, allow residents to really experience those improvements kind of in real time and at full scale, without committing to doing necessarily a high cost project. Next slide. It's important to recognize that these are recognized by Maine DOT. There was a formal memorandum 5 years ago that did provide some policy and procedural guidance for doing demonstration project. It does outline opportunities for grants as well. So I think this is an important opportunity for the town potentially to take advantage of. And there's certainly a lot of different opportunities for demonstration projects that came out of the 64, but we focused on 3. Next slide. We looked at 3 and just developed some graphics for the town to potentially incorporate at some point in the near future. One was to mock up kind of in full scale what kind of a block and a half segment of the bike lanes on Portland Street might look like. So kind of flanking Highland Ave, and we show in this striping plan how that could be done. Again, for a handful of week period, evaluate the use of the crosswalk, see how people riding bicycles might feel about having those buffered bike lanes, etc. So that was one. Second one, next slide. We then, in conjunction with the other concept level design for Lower Main Street, we looked at an opportunity where, perhaps there is that two-way traffic on the northernmost access way that's right now only for westbound traffic on Lower Main, but potentially to make that two-way traffic, to close off the slip lane, potentially do a community painting type of project using low-cost roadway paint that wears out after a handful of weeks. Other communities have done this. It could be sort of a big family-friendly event, get schools involved, etc. That's an option. Doesn't have to have the colorful painting, but to close it off with planters or some other temporary facility, putting tables and chairs out there during nice weather months. And again, just to kind of test out to see what that might look and feel like and how that could benefit the area neighbor. Next slide. And then the third one is not associated with any of the concept level designs, but this one is taking advantage of the openness that Maine DOT does have to demonstration projects, not just in general on local streets, but also there have been some good examples of demonstration projects even on state roadways, and they do have guidelines for that. There are examples, a couple, not a lot, but there are a couple examples even of traffic calming with speed humps and speed tables on state roadways in a few spots. So we looked at the opportunity to draw up a concept for a demonstration project and a new crossing across 236 at Vine Street to provide better opportunities to get to the Great Works School. Having a new crosswalk, and then just as importantly, or more importantly, the speed tables on the approaches to those crosswalks, and really kind of slowing vehicles down to probably, in this context, 20 rather than 15 mile an hour, and placing it with taking advantage of the existing raised median that's there. That does provide just a visual pinch point for traffic regardless. So this is just the option concept for consideration as part of the plan. Next slide. And then just in conclusion, next steps in the process, this is, laid out in a little more detail in the implementation chapter of the report, adoption potentially by the town council. Perhaps that will happen today. And then we, provide recommendation, Public Works, to look at some of the plan recommendations and how they might coincide, as I was describing before, with other roadway repaving and repair projects. So they could get the most bang for the buck. Coordination meetings with Maine DOT to discuss improvements on state roadways. There are about 20% maybe of all the recommendations were related to state roadways. So I think coordination with Maine DOT obviously would be critical there. And if there is interest in that demonstration project, obviously that would be a place to start. A town staffer to commit a portion of their time to help implement the plan, I think would be important, so it isn't just sitting on a shelf. And then, budgeting issues, there's always the hard part, especially after the conversation 45 minutes ago, I guess. But, having additional budget for Public Works is something that will need to be the reality when there's some additional crosswalks and sidewalks and roadway striping that will need to be maintained ultimately in the future. And that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take questions and comments. Any questions? Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very nice,
That's
good
it.
options. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
great. Thank you.
All right. You will step in. We got finished business, 26-112, Conservation Commission interview for Evelina Murphy.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Evelina Murphy to the Conservation Commission with the term ending June 30th, 2029.
Second, we have a motion in a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, Sam? Aye. Paul?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Mallory? I vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you for volunteering and welcome to the club. 26-113, municipal procurement policy ad hoc committee interview. We'll entertain
Mr. Chair.
on that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Anthony Pavadetti to the municipal procurement policy ad hoc committee, the term ending June 30th, 2027.
I will second that. We need to come up with a shorter way to say that. Any, yeah, we need an acronym.
No, what do you think about that? I don't know if we want to know what it is.
Any discussion other than someone coming up with an acronym? Sam?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Paul?
Aye.
Mallory? I vote aye also. Thank you very much. Your expertise will be greatly appreciated. Moving down to 2068, discussion on the adaptation of the active transportation plan.
I would move that we adopt the active transportation plan.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it?
Yeah, I guess,
It clearly left out a lot of people's recognitions. I apologize for leaving out anybody else's name, but I was not there.
I guess I would say that I think at some point soon we should talk about how we plan on implementing it. I think the general start, I think, mentioned to Paul that, you know, I think that just like Bill said, I think the demonstration projects are something that is sort of utilize, either the ones that were developed in the plan, or we can look over other ones, other areas and see if there's something else that would fit us more immediately, but I think trying to get one of those demo projects implemented would show our good faith effort in actually doing something with this plan, so.
I was curious if we, I don't know if we have any thoughts there. Can you pop back to that, like, next step slide? Fine. Yeah. We have a motion on the table for that. I was particularly curious about the second to last bullet, assigning a town staffer to commit a portion of their time. I don't know if that's anything that like staff has thought about at all in terms of, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but. But thanks, Jeff.
Natalie, I'm on the spot here. Yeah, well, the nice thing about this is that often you can look for implementation opportunities that are wrapped up in other efforts, so it's not a wholly new effort, so you know, we can give different examples of that, but I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount of time for any one staffer. And certainly with the help of other staff working together, council members, other committee members, many hands can make light work, but it is important to kind of decide which ones the community will want to implement first and make sure that the plan doesn't just sit on the shelf.
We'll work together and do recommendations and see what we should try first.
Yeah, sorry, I know, well, while you're on the spot. Did we, I mean, would you see value of having, and again, Sam and I were talking about this, I mean, I'm always hesitant to create yet another committee. That's just more work for you, but on the other hand, I mean, you see some value in having other, you know, outside input other than just sort of internal, if you working internally with Jen or Jay or whoever, or if you want council, you think there's value in council involvement or other involvement or.
Maybe downtown revitalization.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more input, the better. You know, one good example of that is we all know that the next couple of years, we have a big DOT project coming through downtown. That actually is an opportunity to work with DOT. Dakota was on the steering committee, as you know, to see if we can implement a few priorities from this plan as part of that project. But along the way, and I know that project, there's gonna be a public presentation coming soon. I know more details are coming on that. But that's one example of how we can look to fold implementation to the project. But along the way, certainly the input of the town council and other boards, citizens, is going to be really important. Whether you have a formal implementation committee or not. One thing I did want to mention is we are trying to, I think Eliza Alexander, the new interim Eastern Trail Executive Director, is on Zoom right now. We are trying to set up a meeting with her in Thursday, September 3rd. So that's just one aspect of implementation, but asking how can we keep advancing the vision of the Eastern Trail coming through South Berwick.
I'm with Sam. I mean, I really would rather not, obviously, we don't want this sitting on the shelf. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good projects in there. I think some of them could easily, I won't say easily, but can be done as demonstration projects. And I would really like to see us try to move forward with some of those, just to see if they work.
I think the demonstration projects too is a good opportunity to be visible in the community, to pique people's interest related to transportation plan. Use it as not only a demonstration, but for example, the parklet demo could be also a marketing opportunity to engage the public related to the broader plan and try and gain they're interested in helping or, like you said, finance them.
Yeah, they're visible, they're low
Yeah.
cost. You know, if something isn't quite working right, they're easy to alter or take out if they're not working, so they're really good. Glad that the plan has kind of set the table for those types of projects.
And the other thing I would say, and I'm like a broken record on this, but you know, I do think there's, and you guys know this, Phil, and everybody else, that, you know, there are concerns in some of the rural areas as well about speed and traffic and safety. And even in, you know, Old Mill and Agamatic Estates. So, you know, I know there are ideas in there on how to, you know, mitigate some of that. And I would hope, aside from the demonstration projects, that there would be some discussion on those smaller scale projects.
Potential question for Jeff and general this. Jen, there's nothing that we currently have budgeted for any of these projects, or is there something?
We could use some tip dollars if it's in the downtown area. If it's out of the tip districts, it would have to come out of the CIP roads budget, which he's on his last leg of the $4 million bond that we had got a few years ago. So maybe after that, I'll have more money, we'll have a bigger pocket of money if we go with the plan of him having 700,000 a year, not have to pay that road bond down. So that would alleviate extra money for the highway department to do more projects.
Okay,
So we have some little bit of wiggle room in downtown this year, and then we can relook at the budget.
okay, and then. Jeff, is this something where there would be grants available potentially as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of the great things about transportation. Oftentimes you can find 80% grants. Some grants are 50%, but a lot are 80 or 90%. Paul knows really well, Dean knows really well, so they always come around. There was just an article about in the Main Trails program, how oversubscribed it is, because there's so much demand statewide for that program, which was a voter bond approval a few years ago. So that's one to look at, as well as others, and we're grateful to have SNPDC and others who can really help us identify that grant funding. So I've worked in implementing in transportation planning for over 15 years, and that's one of the great things. You always look for grants.
Anybody else? We have a motion on it, we have a motion and a second on it, correct? All right, move for a vote, Sam? Aye. Paul? Aye. Joel? Aye. All right. I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. 2666, Jen, you're up.
All right, town hall update. The renovation is about approximately 50% complete. Chargers Brothers has used approximately 50% of its contingency allowance, which is exactly where we'd want to be at this stage of the game. And the fan coil units that were coming from Europe are now, we're expected to be delivered today, which is a week earlier than originally anticipated, so that's great. AV Pro quote came in a little higher than anticipated. That's all the audio and visual throughout the renovation, from the conference rooms to the council to the auditorium. And we were able to work with the vendor and replace some of the higher end equipment with more cost effective alternatives without sacrificing any functionality. And the additional cost can be covered by the interest earned on the bond proceeds, eliminating the need to use any contingency funds. At this point, we have earned $260,000 to date on interest for the bond. So $70,000 would be our portion. Charters Brothers did, admit that they had missed one of the two rooms, council or auditorium. So they have put money in from their contingency fund into this and funded more than anticipated. It came in quite a bit higher than anticipated. It started off at 170,000. We got it down to 111. So the good news is we have the bond interest to not have to touch the contingency. The window install has begun. I don't know if you guys have all seen it. They look really stunning. The black windows really stand out. Sam, you had asked this question last time about Dovetail and their balance that we have available to them. We had gotten 100,000 approved. We have 60,000 left of that, which should cover us for the next 7 months or through about February. So if we're going the current rate that we're going now. The tentative schedule for phase one did come out today. So the phase one is looking to be completed for September 4th. And then they'll be ready to move the first phase downstairs, which unfortunately did push out the actual fully end date to tentatively right now is February 12th, which is 2 weeks later than it was before. Andy will be here, whether it's on Zoom or in person at our next meeting on 8/25 to go over his budget worksheet that you've seen before and the contingencies and whatnot. Right now, the contingencies back and forth with Carter's is less than $500, so change orders.
Good. Any questions for Jen? Okay. Moving down to 2699 for Great Works Land Trust reimbursements. Our Great Works is Remnant Land Trust is requesting a reimbursement in the amount of $26,424.06. For the invoices that they provided for startup costs related to the Salmon Falls Tidal Waters project, including construction of the parking area as adopted in the fiscal year 25 town warrant. Article 20 was put below just for our use. And so far, only two payments totaling $89,607.58 have been paid to date out of the $200,000 that was approved. So I will make the motion to approve the $26,424.06 to be paid from the undesignated fund to the Great Works Land Trust. Motion and a second, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I sent you an email earlier about asking for some clarifying questions.
They were forwarded to the attorney for.
Okay.
Yes.
And we did get the auditor's response too, where I thought I forwarded that to you, for it to you.
Yeah, I have the auditor's response on that. Sam, I will forward that to you momentarily, and then we'll get the lawyer's review.
Okay.
But yeah, as soon as I got that, I sent it to Jen to
And I
go.
can, but since I am bringing it up, I can give Monique a copy of that for the packet.
We'll wait for Paul to get back.
Now he's recusing.
Never mind. It's just.
It was very stealthy.
It's a Monday of all Tuesdays, so I apologize. All right, so Paul recused himself. Any other discussion?
I guess, just for clarity, I want to be clear, I support the Great Works Regional Land Trust in the Salmon Falls Tidal Waters project. They're both an asset had in town, and I really appreciate all that they've done for our town. My concerns with this is strictly procedural on the town side. I don't have any concerns with the Great Works Land Trust or their actions. I have questions about the funds under Article 20. And I've requested through the council chair that the town attorney provide an opinion on this question, and I believe that will resolve my concerns. And again, my vote on this matter is not a reflection of on Great Works Regional Land Trust or their work, and my vote does not indicate a lack of support for this project.
All right, thank you. I will move to a vote. Joe?
Aye.
Mallory? The vote aye also. Motion passes
No,
3-1, one abstention. Thanks for that. I knew what you were gonna vote. Okay, moving on from there, we have new business. 26-119, presentation of the RFP for the ag review. So a request for proposal was issued by the rec department for a new playground on Willow Drive. 5 companies submitted proposals, with 1 company providing 2 separate playground designs, resulting in a total of 6 designs for consideration. Summary of the proposals is attached or sent to the council. The approval budget for the project is $180,000. After reviewing the proposals, considering the public feedback, which there was quite a lot of public feedback, yes?
Yep.
Very nice for the community to give us feedback. It was greatly appreciated.
267?
273, so no, I'm sorry, 237, yeah, that's nice.
It's almost better than some votes we've had. That's fantastic. It's a lot better than most annual town meetings. After reviewing the proposals, considering public feedback, our Recreation Director Nikki Drake recommends awarding the project to Maine Recreation and Design for the Miracle Playground design. Proposal received the highest level of public support and has a project cost of $178,621, which is within the approved budget. I am gonna make the motion to approve the design plan by Maine Recreation and Design. Miracle recommended again by Nikki, which is backed by our interim town manager, Jennifer.
Okay.
Motion in a second. Any discussion from the council?
I just have a question, we're gonna do which one on the wall?
It's design thick,
The one on the lower center. Okay, cool, thank you.
Do not show your video.
Everybody wants to find, I actually just had a couple follow-up questions, so we have them on the record, because it's got brought up previously. All the funding and money going towards this not coming from taxpayer dollars.
No, it's being, it's partially funded by grant and partially by recreation operating funds.
Absolutely amazing, and then with that little bit of money saved, I know this is also brought up before, you commented on it again. In terms of upkeep and everything that's gonna be coming from fees that you're collecting through Southwark, right, everything like that too.
I'm confident we'll be able to support that for our funds.
Okay.
Nikki, does this go to the planning board, or does this have any public review, or does it happen either, or do we?
I believe it's gonna need to go through the planning board.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That'll be next step, yeah.
Good.
Related to the, I'm sorry, I can support this, excited. Related to the interaction with DPW and next steps, I guess, is, and for the public's information on schedule and sort of what to expect through the construction. Has there been any thought to that or how to communicate that?
So next step will be going to the planning board, and then when we can go ahead and let the Maine Recreation Design Company know that we're ready to go. They'll come and do a site review with Public Works and let Public Works know what's needed from them. And then we'll work out a schedule from there based on their availability. Shipping for them is gonna be about 50 days. So we'll just look at the calendar and see, we're looking at being potentially their last install for 2026 or the first for 2027. We're doing that right now.
I have one question to shut down rumors on our favorite Facebook page.
Oh, it was busy over the weekend.
The parking lot is not going anywhere, correct?
No, the
Right,
parking
the
lot is
parking
not.
lot is staying. So the ball
Yeah.
fields will have their parking lot. Publicly stated, parking lot is not going anywhere.
And the playground too.
Yeah,
They're gonna have both.
parking will not be locked. So this is gonna go in the location of the rebound wall right now. The rebound wall is in pretty rough shape. We have some rotted board. It either needed some TLC or it needs to be taken down for safety purposes. So we're gonna be taking it down, and it'll go in that location.
And
Yes.
thank you.
I do have one more follow-up, John, so you think of it. So with the playground going where it's going to go, I noticed a lot of people park on the grass. Right in front of that, are we gonna be doing anything to potentially limit that in terms of safety?
So there will be a little bit of a lift. That is a good point. We should take that into consideration. The playground, the start of the playground will be behind where the current. It'll be behind the fence line, but it's not behind the fence. So, that is something that we should take a look at when we're doing our site plan review. And potentially, I know we have access to boulders, so maybe we look at putting something there that would better create a barrier. Yep.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, definitely, so that'll work.
I can't wait. I wish he was there 20 years ago when I was down
Me
there
too.
coaching.
Right.
It'd be fantastic.
There's a whole parking lot, they'll never use this.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
You can't walk there and get to any games if you
That's
park
true.
in the lower soccer field
That's
parking
true.
lot. You cannot get to any game if you park there. That's why I park on the side of the street.
Does this seem like the first when's the last playground, or how many playgrounds have we done?
I don't know how back here,
Just-
back
just-
here, and that was put in by the Children's Leadership
That's-
Council,
that's-
so let's give it a town
That
project.
was a while ago.
Yeah,
That dissolved.
and that was in like early 2000s, I believe, that was around 2004 or so.
Yeah, 2003, 2004, then that dissolved. They gave the money to Sobo Central or whatever it was, Sobo Central. before was Solo Central,
Okay,
but yeah.
Throw it over there.
yeah, we have our eye on this one too for maybe next year.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so before we get anything further on that, so we can have that. We have a motion and a second on the table. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. Mickey, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you,
And
buddy.
thank you to all the community members who sent that in, and we'd like to see you all at the next town meeting. All 279 of them. All right, moving on to that one, we have the comprehensive plan committee 26-1.
We put this on here because I think there might have been a little bit of confusion since January. Renee did a timeline for us. And just to be sure that we understand, there's a part, I think we might be using some things interchangeably, the language. So it's the comp plan committee and the comp plan implementation committee has both been said and used. So we just wanted to make sure that we clarify this. In January, the council voted to appoint the planning board to serve as a comprehensive plan committee. With Paul serving as the council liaison. I'm not sure if the planning board knows that they've been appointed this position. So there's that, and then we also have, correct me if I missed anything here. We have, the council has appointed Christy Woods to the comprehensive plan committee, and then we reappointed Maya. And so we have two people on the comprehensive plan committee, separate from the people who are on the planning board. So the question I believe on the table is, do we want to still have the planning board be a part of this comprehensive plan committee / implementation committee? Do we want to keep the name shorter? Do we want to have just the two people on it and recruit and get a third person, so we have a quorum? Anything I'm missing? No, question.
Maybe I can provide some clarity, but sure, I think. When we when we made the planning board, I mean, we were dealing with the LD 1829.
Yes.
And I think the idea was that they would just deal with that, with making the change to the growth plan, growth area map, right? That was already, that we were trying to revise. And maybe we sort of blew it at the time, but I don't think the idea was to make them the full-blown comprehensive plan implementation.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I would just forget about the old comprehensive plan committee. Those guys got burned out. And they worked on it for 2 or 3 years. When it was done, they were like,
Not they get excited, want to implement this stuff, they decided to put in.
I mean, we could ask them ask them if they would be interested in being on the implementation committee, but the
Of course.
implementation committee is just really, it's just not about zoning or, well. It's just about the whole comp plan, the 20, 30 pages of ideas and strategies and actions that are in a comprehensive plan.
Keep it moving.
And see who's doing what, do we need some coordination, do people need help, and prioritizing things. So, I just wanted to make sure, it sounded like we were getting the two committees mixed up and then we threw the planning board in there. So, I think the idea was to just, in the plan itself, and Jeff, I don't know if you had read that section of the plan, it was to have a separate implementation committee who would just sort of oversee all the aspects of all the recommendations in the comp plan. And sort of monitor where they were and provide any assistance if needed. And that was the idea behind that at the time. But I think, folks, particularly Jeff, I mean, traditionally, like, I think that, planning boards deal with the zoning stuff because,
Of course.
any zoning recommendations that came out of the comprehensive plan, because you don't want a bunch of people who've never dealt with zoning, writing zoning changes.
Exactly.
So, but I think internally, you guys, something you could probably figure it out,
Yes.
how that would go. Anyway, that's my thought.
April of last year, there was a call put up for downtown revitalization advisory committee and the comprehensive plan implementation committee. So was there a council action, maybe chair or vice chair will not recall, prior to that call, that established this CPIC, the implementation committee?
Not that I remember, but.
And then I think that's one, I believe. Maya applied for was the implementation committee, correct?
I actually don't remember exactly how it was, but in my mind, that's what I was joining, was
Yeah,
the implementation. Keep
So-
the progress moving. Correct, good.
Do we need, seeing as the implementation committee is. We're sort of directed by the comp plan to establish that committee. Should we officially establish that? Or like is there a procedure that we need to go through to ensure that, okay, this is an actual now established committee? And then sort of. Without a call again for people, like you said, like,
Yeah, I mean, I thought at one point we had actually solicited. Actively, so we're soliciting people, maybe I don't think you just,
I believe we did.
Yeah, we definitely.
yeah, that was,
we went out, gave a solicitation for a comprehensive plan and implementation committee, we didn't get a ton. And then things got a little messy with LD 1829, etc. So, I'm not sure whether what formal action, I wasn't even here on this board at the time.
I mean, I think I think what would make sense for us to do, just to get things cleared up, it sounds like what the discussion is, it sounds like everyone's. Talking about, we should move forward with an implementation committee.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
And so I think if we follow past practices, like we would, maybe on our next agenda, we can have like a more formal charge to like officially establish the committee. Knowing that we already have a couple of members, but then we can kind of lock that in so that we can get it on our website and publish out for more. Or solicit out for more members.
And sorry, just to follow up, that
Yeah.
committee would be tasked with doing the South Florida Comprehensive Plan, which is published April 11th, 2024. Is that, I'm looking on the website and we don't have,
They would be tasked with like the prioritization and like the kind of like recommendations of what should we tackle first.
so,
Throughout the comp, so they'd be tasked with taking the comp plan, doing something with it.
okay, so not just looking, because the last update we had is from 2024.
The comp plan only gets updated like every 10.
Yeah,
It was around like 20 years. So
Yeah,
we did
it is.
No, and I think it makes sense, I think I've asked multiple times, like, what is our strategic plan for the town, like up to 50 years?
And that's it.
And this what we have here, and it's like, it has, but. A lot has already changed in the past like 2 years, and this one is just dated for 10 to 15 years. So would this committee? Just be going off of it, or to Mallory's point, would they? Be kind of starting it over a little bit from scratch, or using this and that?
No,
You see this as a package.
They're gonna use this document.
they're gonna hold us accountable to implement parts of the comprehensive plan. Because if they don't, the council will never do anything like we didn't do with the last one.
there's a page in the plan that discusses the implementation committee. Does
Yeah.
anyone know what page that?
No,
number
it's-
is? 160, okay.
Yeah, I think we just kind of take language from that, what Sam's pulling up, and we can create a formal charge for a comprehensive plan implementation committee. And we'll have it out there, and then they're tasked with taking the recently updated comprehensive plan for 2024, and providing recommendations to the council, of, like what we should tackle first.
Maya has it up.
Yeah, the implementation committee should support accountability of the plan implementation. Support responsible parties in interpreting the intentions of the plan's goals and strategies, and recommend solutions to challenges or roadblocks to plan implementation. Meeting at least quarterly to engage the responsible parties about the plan progress, either through those liaisons seated on the committee or by invitation to regular meetings. The committee will monitor progress on the council priority strategies, as well as any other plan progress, and draft the report for the town's annual report.
Our interim committee chair would like.
According to you, but no, I do wanna say just one quick point, which was on page 160, the way it describes implementation. Sounds to me like the committee would be communicating with any other committees that relate to the comprehensive plan, such as the downtown revitalization committee. In some places, it would be with town council or the planning board. So I just wanted to make sure that was correct, or because the other message I got was that we communicate with the town council. And that would be a different approach than what's in there, so I just wanted to make sure I was clear on how we're supposed to.
I think we.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. I think we need to iron that out before
Right.
else it'll be better than
I
that.
had a suggestion, which was, I thought maybe the committee could meet monthly. But then every third meeting, so once a quarter, if we had a liaison from each of the related committees or boards attend. So that would give us 2 meetings to sort of get our act together, prioritize what we want to pull out of the report. And then every quarter have the larger group meet, just basically distribute the information and sort of like, hey, here's your top 5 things that.
So everybody's marching in the same direction.
Yeah, and that might be an efficient way to communicate with multiple groups.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the way I always thought about it was that the implementation committee would do exactly like you said, work with these other groups. But then it's like ultimately like accountable to the council to kind of bring forward recommendations, because I think at the end of the day, the council is like the accountable body for all of it. And
Right.
so, you know, the implementation committee can work with these other boards and committees to provide recommendations and bring them to the council to then officially approve and move forward with.
Got it.
Yeah, it states here too, the town council should engage the implementation committee during the annual prioritization process. Where we are to identify 3 to 5 council priorities and include them in our proposed budget. So, so we need to draft a charge in alignment with.
With that language, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Jeff, have you worked with it, have you done something similar or?
Yeah, and so in Elliott, we passed the comp plan a little bit after this one in 2025. And didn't set up an implementation committee right away, but did do an annual report with SMPDC's help. So that's an important aspect, but I like what's been said by Maya and by the council about setting up this committee, giving it a charge. As Sam mentioned, the charge is kind of already written in the comp plan on page 160. And then, yeah, the committee essentially serving as kind of a muse to the town council and other committees saying, you know, we're the shepherd of this document and we've gone through it. We think these things are important. How can you incorporate that into it? So we would be happy to help draft the charge or any of the other administrative documentation. Review it with Jen and then bring it back to council at the next meeting.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so that'll be on our next agenda. Okay, again, put it on the next agenda.
You got it.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Now we'll roll down to 26-121. Amendments to the council rules and procedures. Sam, you're up.
Thank you. So I submitted this, proposed wording to amend rule 2 of our rules, which is related to, I think right now it's just called agenda. And my intention here is to, I know when we first, the 3 of us newly elected. Once newly out, are we still new? I don't know.
No, no.
The most recently elected councilors, we had there was some seeming ambiguity around how to get things on the agenda. And part of my intention here is to clarify that process for us and as well as future councilors. And I think in this method, it also clears up for the public, which councilors are more clearly, which councilors are sort of sponsoring is the word I use, each of these agenda items on our agenda. The second section, because also included in the current rule 2, is a deadline by which communications need to be received in order to be considered by the council, I think is the wording used. I think there was I think we should adopt some more clarity around that statement. I know I interpret it as the emails being in communication. And of course, other public written comments that we received. I think I know there's been inconsistencies in how we've published residents' emails and comments. And another intention here is to lay it out bare so that there's no confusion as to what our process is. So if you don't mind, I'll just read it. If that's okay.
No, that's gonna make it very
Yeah.
clear.
So rule 2, entitled Agenda, Written Comment and Timeline. A, council agenda items. All matters to be considered by the town council shall be sponsored by at least one councillor or the town manager and submitted by email to the full council, town clerk, and town manager on a form approved by the council. The agenda item and all supporting documents must be submitted by the deadline set forth in Rule 2C. And I opted to separate this deadline from this timeline from that, so that it is more easily. Like it flow, I think it flows better. 2B is written public comment. Written comment submitted for inclusion in the meeting record shall be submitted by email to, and I don't have an email address there for it yet, and must include the commenter's first and last name and address. Where applicable, the comment should reference the specific agenda item to which it pertains. Comments containing matters subject to executive session under Maine's Freedom of Access Act will not be distributed. Comments received after the deadline set forth in Rule 2C must be entered into the record of the meeting, but will not be distributed in advance of the meeting. So 2C is the timeline section, and before I read it, I want to say that my thought process behind having multiple deadlines here is that right now, the agenda and packet are both published simultaneous to one another, or nearly. And I don't think that allows the public any time in advance of our meeting to submit their input to be considered on the agenda, items. I feel like in the past, people have submitted comments and they've either made it into the packet or they haven't. And many have just gotten lost in the mix. So my intention is to allow the public to see the agenda, give them a period of time by which to provide their input in a written manner. That would also be published prior to the meeting, should anyone else in the public be interested in reading their comments, and for the council to digest them as well. So for the next regular meeting, the following deadlines apply. 10 a.m. 4 business days prior to the meeting, agenda items due under Rule 2A. 5 p.m. 3 business, so 1 day after, 3 business days prior to the meeting, agenda and supporting documents posted to the town website. So that would be, in this proposal, that would be a staff deadline. 5 p.m. 2 business days prior to the meeting, written public comment due under Rule 2B. 5 p.m. 1 business day prior to the meeting, written public comment posted to the town's website. So that would be the second staff deadline there. So that's my proposal. I understand, and then I also included a draft agenda item request form. It does sort of mirror the one that the town staff uses right now, with the addition of the meeting date requested, the date in which it was submitted, who the sponsor is, and also the estimated discussion time, which I think could be beneficial to evaluating whether an agenda item is too much. It may, if someone's gonna propose something that's gonna consume 45 minutes, it will be helpful to know that prior to putting it on the agenda. So that is my proposal.
I will comment. I think that this is absolutely, I think, part of like Brad's concerns, I think is centered around. We haven't had a great process in place around this, so I think this is fabulous. I worry a little bit, and I would love the input from staff on the multiple deadline. I think this documenting this and getting this out there, making it very clear for the public when you send an email, this then happens, then we also internally then have to have our process buttoned up to make sure that the emails actually make it to the right place, which I know we're working on with getting you guys access to the right email box, is that true?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a little bit clunky, but I'm
Yeah.
still working with Stella to fine tune it, but I am getting some of them.
Yeah, and so then once we get that process ironed out, then the staff will have access to these emails, because that's something that just so the public is clear right now. When you email the council, it is, the onus is on us to then make sure it gets to staff, so it gets into the packet, and we have dropped the ball on some occasions, absolutely. So I think we have to get our internal process buttoned up, which is pointing to your email address thing, are we suggesting like counselors at SB Main being the email that you guys would have access to too?
That was the one I was working with Stella to get
Okay.
access to, yes.
So I guess I'm just curious what your perspective is on like, that we're now creating. What Sam has proposed, 4 different deadlines, 2 of which are applicable for staff, and just how does that fit into like your day-to-day and other tasks, like this, is that feasible, do you have suggestions?
Yep, so my recommendation, I had taken it as 3 different deadlines, but we can talk about that. Different deadlines for the same agenda could be confusing for the public and unnecessarily time consuming for staff. To simplify the process, I suggest establishing a single deadline. All agenda materials and public comments received by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, 4 days prior to the meeting, would be included in the agenda packet, which would be published by 6 p.m. on Thursday, which is the end of the clerk's business day. Any public comment received after the Wednesday deadline will still become a part of the public record, but would be included in the meeting minutes for approval at the following council meeting, rather than being added to the agenda packet after publication. We do have an agenda sheet that we have been using. I would also recommend the council use the same form as us, whether we want to adjust that a little bit. I'm obviously open to that. But instead of cutting and pasting and redoing everything, if we're using the same form, I think it would just simplify that process as well. One thing on Mondays, always our craziest day in the office too. A lot of people are obviously registering vehicles. They realize it over the weekend. Monday is very busy. If we have, people out sick, if there's vacations, that's that it can be a tight timeline for that Monday. Not to say it can't happen, but it would definitely put a lot of pressure on the clerk's office.
So, totally hear you. That Monday one, of course, it's really just, I think the intention of that one would be to get written comments just up and available to the public prior to the meeting. So I think, my opinion, even if that's Tuesday morning or something, I think that the 2 deadlines is important for the reason I stated that. So the public can see the agenda in the packet and then have an opportunity prior to the meeting to submit their comments, you know what I mean?
And then in the charter, I believe it says it's noon time on Monday to make any changes. But
In the what?
Monday at noon, I think it's the deadline that we're still not supposed to make any more changes
To the agenda.
to the agenda.
Oh, these would be just the written public comments.
Just,
Yeah, so just the agenda would be solidified,
But if we're setting the agenda with agenda pages and then going back and putting in different page numbers, then we're making changes to the agenda.
right,
I think.
What?
Maybe I didn't mention it here, but I was thinking it would be set like you have agenda, packet, video, it would just be like one more.
I actually thought of that today.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest.
Yeah,
the same.
I thought
If
that.
we had a separate public
Yeah.
comment document where all of the public comment would go, I think that would actually be a great improvement.
I don't know how the revised tabs are worded. That's by revised, like the website platform that we use is revised. Sorry. I don't know how they word those tabs, but I can definitely ask them. But currently, this suggestion goes against a lot of what our current charter as well as Maine state laws advise. So,
With respect to,
with respect to, so just the charter. Article 2, section 8 states that the council shall determine its own rules and orders of business, including procedures related to meetings, agendas, discussion, deliberation, and council operations. Article 2, section 12 states that the clerk serves as the clerk to the council and is responsible for maintaining the official record of council proceedings. And then Article 3 states that the town manager serves as the administrative head of the municipality and is responsible for administration of town departments and services.
That being said, the town's administrative code further establishes that the roles and responsibilities within the town manager council form of government, section 2-3, authorizes the town manager to establish administrative regulations necessary for the function of the town departments. Section 3-19 assigns executive direction of administrative services to the town manager. Section 3-12 establishes that the department heads are responsible for the town manager for effective administration of their departments. Sections 3-2 and 3-30 identify the town clerk as lead of the department records and outline responsibilities. The current process supports the current FOA requests and deadlines that were needed. But it's important to know that the clerk's office isn't just doing town council administration as well as board and committee administration. I'm also working, well, not just me, my entire office is working on municipal records, reconciliation of a lot of the 2023-2024 records that we don't currently have. Election and nomination forms, which is an ongoing process. It's not just once a season. Because we start election season 100 days before the election starts. And it doesn't close until 100 days after election starts, and it's 100% overlaps. I still have stuff open from June election, and I'm already starting November election. I also do public record requests, permits, petitions, required filings, daily resident services. So if we want to go ahead and put administrative guidelines in the town council rules and procedure, we have to make sure that these are town council rules of procedure, not administrative rules of procedure.
So like, is what you're saying, basically what you're saying is like, what we're dictating here, what your proposal is, we're dictating.
How staff's gonna do.
Yeah, so this is now applying to more than just the council, basically.
So which ones of these, are you alluding to that?
All of them, all of
So it's
them
a full
conflict
group.
with my office and how we do business.
Is that-
Currently, everything, sorry, I don't need to interrupt. Currently, everything extracurricular is on hold until we clear out the June 9th election. And the deadline for that is August 13th. My office is not coming in on a Friday, so we're doing as much as we can to get it done by Thursday.
So the current rules that have the Thursday deadline, are those also in violation?
Those are not possible because currently on Thursdays, I'm in the office until 9:30, putting just together the agenda itself, not the agenda packet. Agenda packet is approved on Friday mornings and posted as quickly as I can, depending on the size. It's typically by 3 o'clock. And people who subscribe to the town council website do get those notifications when they're posted.
And there
So-
are like 300 pages.
So if we revised this, that was more, directive to the public, so they have like.
They're not gonna be able to see it, that's the problem. She's not gonna have it out early enough for them to see it.
Yeah, seems like we're making this extremely complicated. I mean, to me, it's like, and I've been working under the assumption we had a Thursday due date at noon for people, for agenda items.
That's what.
And I was also under the impression we had a Thursday noon deadline for whatever we got public, letters from the public, whether it was for an agenda item or just period. Would go into the package for the next Tuesday's meeting.
But we've never had a process in place to ensure that those emails get to Monique on Thursday, that the piece that is missing.
Yeah.
It's just being worked on right now.
Yeah.
You are, so
I mean, I appreciate Sam's effort to provide context. I mean, to me, it's just like, I'm sort of confused about.
I think we can meet in the middle. I think it's a moving
Yes.
process. Yeah.
Can I ask a simple question? So if we were to entertain an idea where the packet is the packet. And there's actually no public comment in the packet. And it lives in an entirely separate document. Like, does that? Because so like if I look at our website, you have agenda, you have packet, you have minutes, video, like if we could somehow add public comment or something. There, so it is an entirely separate document, so then the addition of public comment doesn't screw up all the page numbers. Like, does that make anything easier?
It's definitely something to look into.
Okay,
I'm not sure what Revise offers, but I can definitely ask if that's something we can add.
We can have Sue's look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to be able to say to the public, if you want to have a comment or a letter at our next meeting, it's got to be received by Thursday prior to the meeting.
Right. Everybody has a deadline.
And,
That's
you
what I was
know,
going
if
with.
it's an agenda item that,
We should also set up I'm sure, Stellar can help us with it, but like an automatic email to anyone who emails counselors, whatever, SB, whatever it is. So they get an automatic reply that says, you know, if you sent this email by whatever deadline, noon on Thursday, or whatever deadline you said, then your email will be included in public comment. If you sent it after that, it will not. And it'll be captured in the next one, like just as simple as that, and then. At least the people who are emailing us are getting that information, if they're not getting today.
Yeah, I like that idea, and also I think it needs to be a specific public comment email address. So
Yeah,
that we don't
I
have to
agree
sit
with that.
through our emails, but,
I agree with that, that's a good idea.
so then, like, that's the only thing that goes to that box.
Okay, so kind of bringing it all together. Everyone seems happy with the council agenda item request form to actually process formal to match what the town hall already does.
We'll work together with staff to make sure,
That it
whatever.
matched up, which is great, also we actually something formalized.
Are we talking about, I think we should just use the same form.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Whatever one matter.
Yeah. And then Sam, thinking of your goals for this, because I also think it's very important to hear from our town clerk and like the office and everything, we have like. Thank you for saying like my office can handle that, that was great. But thinking of your goals of this, Sam, is one of them also trying to get the agenda out as soon as possible, still following our charter rules and everything to match up. Was the goal getting it out as soon as possible to be able to provide the public the opportunity to give feedback for those agenda items?
Yeah, the intention being, if what happens currently is. The agenda goes out.
Yep.
Alright, yeah, we'll ignore it. I agree with Mallory in that, I don't think any of the emails should be included in. That, I think it convolutes the packet,
Yeah,
makes it more difficult to
Find them.
find them, and I think it should be lived somewhere on its own. The intention be. Of accepting public comments after the agenda is posted. Would be so that. People know their comments are going to be read prior to the next meeting. Because they, you know, otherwise they don't know what the agenda is, and then they send it, and then it lags by 2 weeks.
you know, I would say, and I'm all for increased public participation, but I mean, people can come to the meeting, I mean, if they can comment publicly on an agenda item. They can also go to a Zoom meeting and comment publicly via Zoom. Now, not everybody can do that, I know. I think trying, you know, I think we're just. It just seems like we're trying to shoehorn a lot of, you know. The agenda with public comment into a span of a day or two.
And I think too, just like historically, I feel like most of our public comment has been exactly that, it's been like public comment, people just wanting to comment on something random. Look, I mean, historically, we haven't gotten a ton of emails from people about specific agenda items, like. That's just a pattern, I don't feel like it hasn't been a big thing, and then to your point, people usually tend to come to the meeting if it's a big issue for them, a big item they want to see too.
And this isn't also saying, Paul, to your point, that people can't read the agenda and send us emails that people read before the meeting, that still happens, I just wonder if they're gonna be published.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
moving forward to having a form that connects with what the town hall is already using. Continue with our deadlines that we already have, and potentially looking into see if there's a fourth line that we could put for public comment.
So would it help, so this is these conversations is exactly why I split out the timeline. Because you can read the content, right, and then the timeline is way more debatable and whatnot, so. Notwithstanding, you know, knowing. If we set for us, the counselors, this deadline of 10 AM on Wednesday versus Thursday, that would alleviate some. It gives a little more time to the town staff to develop the package and agenda.
Oh, I know, it should be a
So-
little bit of further time on us, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Makes these are
gonna pick through these, see where it is the problem trials. So C1, 10 AM, 4 business days prior to the meeting, agenda items due under Rule 2A, so we owe to the town our proposed agenda items on
Yeah.
Wednesday
That would be great.
versus right now it's like Thursday.
Earlier the better, sure.
And then the next one, 5 PM, 3 business days prior. Agenda and supporting documents posted to the town's website, so that's a stat action, so. It sounds like we can't dictate that outside of what is already in the charter.
And also confirming when you're saying the 3 business days, are you counting the Tuesday as a business day?
Yeah, thank you.
So would this,
Why
so
go
would this be a
Wednesday?
Friday?
Prior.
Okay, so this would be the Thursday.
When 4 business days would be Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the way I took it, so.
So what Jennifer had proposed in the town manager's recommendation is 10 AM Wednesday for us, essentially, for the
Yep.
council to get our stuff to them. But then 6 PM Thursday, 'cause that's close of end of clerk's business on Thursday, is when everything else, the agenda would be published. Right, that's what's happening today, agenda by end of day Thursday, and then the pack comes Friday. Right,
So it sounds like that's not something we can dictate, I don't know, rules of.
no, I
So-
know,
so
but I'm
So
saying,
that's just gonna.
So that's in that process.
yeah.
Well, currently, I get it to her by the end of the day on Thursday. She posted on Friday.
The agenda or the.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, we try to get it as
It's all-
promptly as possible, but
Right.
Thursday nights,
Yeah.
I'm open till
Yeah.
6, Julie's at 3.
Okay.
3.
4. I don't know.
Well, let's put that.
So. Yeah, so that we're taking 2 out, because that's, we're not dictating that time frame. That'll be dictated. Is there something in the charter that has a time, or in our charter related to publishing agenda?
The only thing I'm seeing is, the items can't be adjusted Monday, 12 PM before the meeting.
Yeah, afternoon on Monday, prior to a council meeting, no more changes to the agenda.
Unless we have a special.
That's what it's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just like a 24-hour wait.
Right.
Yeah.
For that production.
It's gotta be emergent.
Yeah.
Which I think I've done 2 of those in the entire time I've been here.
I know.
So that leaves, remaining the public. The deadline for the public to submit written comment, knowing that, you know, if there were something we were to give them as our rule, so they know that it's. You know, going to be considered or otherwise at the next meeting.
I'm imagining, like, if we figure out what this new email address is gonna be, or if it's like public comment at southbergmaine.gov or whatever.
Using for the public.
Yep.
Yeah.
What if we?
But hold on, I'm not done yet. I think like on our website somewhere, like on our town council page where it lists counselors at SB Maine and all of our individual stuff, like we could have a section and maybe, you know, kind of judge it so it really stands out. And that says like, if you are wanting to reach out to the council for public comment like pertaining to an agenda item or something, then this is the email you should use and here are the rules associated with that. If you get it to us by a certain time, it'll be included. For, you know, published. If you don't, then it'll be caught in the next one. And like, so then, I mean, this is gonna be obviously a process change for the community too, because people are used to reaching out to us through our individual emails or counselors at SB Maine. But if we can establish what that is and then just lay out the rules, and then in addition to that, the automatic email that. You know, yeah, like kind of an auto office thing that can say, thank you for emailing the town council, if you got it in by a certain time, then it'll be in, if not, it'll be good for the next one. So that information is just there on repeat, like anytime anybody emails us, and eventually people will catch on.
And that could go to all of you and both of us.
Yeah,
We're doing an awful lot of push-ups for a problem that really isn't that big. We've been working on this for 15 minutes for a problem that I haven't seen that many complaints other than in the last month.
we've had a number of issues, I would say, over the past couple of years where we have missed emails, period.
No,
We haven't had it specifically.
We missed emails, that's not what I'm saying, but we're sitting here doing push-ups, trying to reinvent the wheel. On how to get public comment out. Wanna have public comment? Come give public comment. I'm sorry, but everybody that says they're too busy has no problem going out on Friday night, because they post what they were doing. We all come here. We've been here 9 and 12 years. We all come here. I understand the problems, but I don't wanna reinvent the wheel and make everybody's life harder. I'm fine with the form. I think the form is great. We should have been using the form for agenda items. But Public comment, public comment.
I don't know what's so difficult about just saying you gotta have your comments, so it's by Thursday before the Tuesday meeting. And whether it's an agenda item or not, I mean, just, you know, I know the agenda wouldn't have been published at that point. As Joel said, I mean, people can send us comments, it's just not gonna be put out to the public, but it, I mean, it will eventually. Or maybe it goes to the, you know, the whatever we're proposing, the portal that just shows everything. I don't,
So you said Friday?
Maybe it's Thursday.
I don't know.
Wednesday.
Well, I mean, the way you wrote it would be Friday, right?
Two visits.
Well, that would be, you guys aren't even in on Friday. Or,
I'm here on Friday.
okay, well,
Well, we're not going to.
I work the clerk office.
Where, that, sorry.
yeah, well, would you, you know, I think a lot of it is up to you. I'm fine with Thursday. Right, but whatever you guys think you can manage. But
I'm okay with striving for Thursday with this new Wednesday deadline in place. Worst comes to worst, we're here Friday mornings.
I mean, I think in our rule, we're looking at anything directing town clerk to post, so that's that, but this is just an
I'm
understanding,
willing to
right?
compromise.
I
So-
think utilizing you for posting an email on a Friday is a waste of your time and my money. To be brutally honest, I think if you're working on an email to be included in a council packet about a comment is a waste of your valuable time to this town and my tax dollars.
She's like, many things I've heard.
You got more than enough on your plate than I've seen.
I think at the very least, with the process change that we're adding to get staff included on the emails. That automatic email that gives the person the information of like, it will be included or it won't be included. I think that is like, oh, that's like a one and done, we write the text, we put the email out there and it will, everybody will get that automatic response. I think that maybe is like a compromise on this, where at least we're now, because I don't think we've done a great job with the public around saying, if you wanna submit for public comment, here's the rules around that. We haven't been great about doing that, and then at least the people are getting that when they send the email.
So if we start with giving. You know, I think. Just taking it, okay, we start with Wednesday, 10 AM, we owe to the town. Or 4 business day prior to 10 AM, our agenda items. And then we expect the public by 5 PM 2 business days prior to email us their written comments to this specific email. So we'll just leave it at that. There, just take out the posting part, at least for now, since we don't want to utilize the staff time to do that. And we can bring those emails from that simplified box to the meeting to have added to the next minutes or something.
We have done it like that in the past.
But at least now everything's, I think the biggest problem is that everything's not in the same spot when we get it. And things get.
I mean, that's my major concern. That's
100%.
I mean, I think a lot of our problems will be solved once we have one inbox and then we have staff having access to it. But then that's also creating more work, because then now you guys have access to the public comment.
So.
Table.
I'd like that, yeah.
There's some revisions, but.
Right, no, I think it's a helpful, it's a good discussion. Exactly. I know you don't agree, but that's.
I haven't done it quite, because to be brutally honest, I have 5 more meetings, and I'm out in Fedora, and I'm out there with those guys. But what I am gonna do for my next 5 meetings is stick up for the staff that do not have the time to be doing this, and I understand the public's view, but if you really have an issue, come on down.
Or.
Or Zoom.
279 people spoke up about the playground. Come on down. But no, I appreciate Sam's effort. This is good. There are some things in there, some clarity that we need to have, and we need to have the public understand and trust that we are reading their emails and they are getting what they need, right? I mean, I read every email. I don't respond to them all. I don't send them all back, and I'm not good at forwarding them because unfortunately, I still have a full-time job that I have to do, much like the staff does over here. without worrying about that, so I'm terrible at replying, anyway, call me and you know that. Or text me, I never get back to you, so. Table it, Sam, you presented it, what do you wanna do, table it, be
I
working?
think table, what's the, postpone indefinitely fills it, right?
Put a date out in September.
Well, cause I gotta present a draft, a different draft.
Right. You wanna just vote on it, vote no, and come back with a different draft, you can do that. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
But then, then you're gonna vote again.
I'm gonna vote it down. either way.
I move that we postpone it until the, whatever meeting, first meeting in September.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to put it to the first meeting in September. All in favor, Sam?
Aye.
Joel? Aye, Paul?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also for that, 5-0. Okay, moving on to council comments. Joel?
It's also defeated. Okay, I'll be quick with this, since we did go through the mill rate today, that was the last thing that was. Brought up, the 6/23 meeting, when I brought up a, budget workshop that I wanted to set up, Jen advised to wait till we do the mill rate first. So now that we've done that, I will be coordinating with the community center to figure out a time to do a budget workshop to kind of hear from residents and everyone, how they feel the process went, what they want to improve. I will hold one on a weekday and a weekend to kind of work with everybody's schedule. And just a reminder, John did say on the record, if more than 10 people come, he will not have dinner.
Review.
It is recorded, so, yeah, that'll be fun.
I think we did set a date already for those.
For, we had a 9/15 date.
We did for the budget? We did.
Mhm.
Were you gonna-
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
for me, next week is Lantern Fest, on the 19th on Wednesday, rain date is the 20th Thursday at Spring Hill. And then, we just got notification from MDOT that August 10th through September 2nd, there's a public comment period for the MDOT project that's scheduled at Marshall High School, so there's plans to put a traffic light in at that intersection. And there's a public comment period open for about a month, there's information. Jennifer, I was gonna forward this to you and Suzanne, and maybe we can put something on the website or
Yes,
something with it.
Yes.
But it looks like that timeline. Hold on. Right now, we're in this on-demand formal public meeting period. They're expecting to have design plans complete in October of this year, advertised to contractors sometime this fall. Begin construction in the spring with a new light next fall. So a little more than a year. If you've got comments on that, that's a really important project for this community. That's all I have.
Paul?
Yeah, just, I'm glad we had this, however painful it was, the email discussion, because I have gotten concerned about some emails that are on. Are in the packet, some aren't, I don't know what the process is or was, so I'm glad I just feel like if we get any emails that go to the council, that on the Thursday before the meeting, they should be part of the package. And I know you guys are under the gun, there's a lot going on. My other question, Jen, and I is on the Railroad Ave project, and I know it's on the to-do list, but I do, want to make sure that we can, look at a time frame for that, and I know you and Jeff have probably talked about it, but
Yep, we do have the appraisal scheduled for December.
Oh, good.
As the quickest he can get to it, and he has told me that it's gonna be a negative appraisal due to all the contamination.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's a really good place to start, but I really can't do too much until we know that, but Jeff and I were actually talking about it today. And he's gonna start working with Southern Maine Planning and
Okay.
Development, see that, if this all qualifies with the plan that we have from Mainspring. So that we can move forward, see what grants we qualify for and get that ball rolling in concurrent waiting to get that appraisal done.
Right, and I bring it up because, there is a grant round through EPA, which is in November. And if you don't hit that, if we're gonna apply to them for cleanup funding, and when, SMPDC has their own pot of money, but it's a different pot of money. We need to, if you don't get it in by then you gotta wait like at least another year.
Oh, okay, so no, there's a November deadline,
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Do it.
But Reagan would know that.
Yeah, and Reagan and I have been emailing.
Okay, okay, all right, great. Thank you.
Verification September 15th, we have as the council listening session, from 6 to 7. The Tuesday.
Sam?
Said to about the active transportation plan, I think there's some good opportunities there. And just looking forward to helping do what I can. Push some of the demonstration projects forward and. Also, I was gonna mention that MDOT project, it was nice to get that email. And then that was it, everything else I've already said.
Catherine? I'll go with some thank yous. Nikki, thank you for one, the playground project, two, summer camp. It is phenomenal. The community is loving it. The pictures are great. Again, another successful year down there. So thank you for that. Jen, wearing multiple hats. Thank you for everything you're doing because I don't know how you're doing it on a regular day. And Monique, I got 2 people reached out to me about the fantastic service at the Burke's office. And I gotta tell you, it's getting hard to hear how great the service is. So
Just sit down and plexiglass so you come in.
Oh, it looks so much nicer. Little things, yeah.
So, along with that, thank you to my fellow counselors for putting up with me not being here at certain times. I appreciate it. Other than that, I move we adjourn for the evening.
Do it on your own.
Oh no, Hershey told me I could do that on my